about grief, though, what I was going to say about grief is I think grief is something that you move through. It's not something you get over. And I think so
Right.
much of what we do, it's a process of, moving through it and learning how to deal with it. And even, in transitioning to our topic tonight, the tail end of our hero's journey, it's a journey that you move through. And, there is this great template that we have, from universal myth and universal story that we can kind of benchmark our progress, right? What we've been talking about all along. But it is something that each of us individually moves through at our own pace, and in our own timing and with our own lessons. And I think, that was really interesting when we talked about the archetypes, and all of the different archetypes that, we encounter and that, we learn from and we see ourselves reflected in throughout that journey. And I think it's really interesting because, like, for Ryan, the archetypes show up. We've showed up for him, he showed up for us. He's a reflection of our own journeys and we're a reflection of his, and the same for each other. Each one of us has something to learn from the people that we've attracted into our lives and that we have been attracted by. And, I think about that just with this group, Terry, with you, how much we've learned from you. And, you say you learned from us, but we have learned as much from you, as you have learned from us. And, last week when we were talking about how excited, we were for you to get that reward, right? You've seized the sword, you're, taking on that final challenge, that, big, exciting adventure. And, now you're ready to seize the reward. But then the other thing, that we talk about is that, when you go through those different descriptions, the returning home to re-enter the ordinary world is often where the hero may be pursued by enemies or set up for the final battle, or maybe, in our terminology, encounters the laws of resistance, right? Because
Right.
now you've made the commitment, you've got the sword, you've picked up the reward, which is your book, right? You're publishing that book. But now once that book is published, and we talked about this last week, what are you going to do? And that's that road home, because you're going to take it back. What you've accomplished, what you've achieved in your journey, you're taking it back to your community, to your family, to your audience. And then how you present that, how you teach them, from the success of your journey, and then
Right.
share it with them, becomes, I think, really, really critical. And it's something we began to talk about last week. And I think we'll transition really beautifully into, Milan's superhero training, which is, you really do need to put on your armor and be a superhero, to be able to succeed at the full measure of your journey. Because getting your book is great, and having, that freshly published stack of books on your desk is going to be amazing. But what then? And kind of what I always tell my students is, so what? The so what of what you're doing. So you publish this amazing book, you've done this, but what is your purpose truly now that you have this reward? And I think
Right.
it's an interesting thing in stories, they get the chalice or the Ark of the Covenant or the treasure, and then what do they do with it? And so often people squander that. They're excited because they've attained whatever it is that they want, and they forget that there's, that Spider-Man quote, with, what is it? With great
With
power
great power comes great
comes
responsibility.
great responsibility. And every hero shoulders that responsibility, and so for
My
you,
responsibility will continue on even after the book is
right,
launched and published, because they were saying today that that's only maybe 10% of it. The other 90% comes after it's been launched and published, because I have to continue to market it and, you know, brand it out and all those kinds of things. So I'm gonna let you guys keep talking for a second, but I am cooking Dylan's dinner, so I'm just gonna step back in the kitchen, but I am
What,
listening, so keep
what you
going.
cooking?
making us.
I'm cooking double stuffed baked potatoes.
That's
I love them. I love it. I made chili.
I did that the other night, chicken chili.
Hmm
right.
But
My
I
wife's
think,
making Vietnamese food tonight, some pho.
Yeah, that's what I
Oh,
have
really?
too.
You're
I
having
just went
fun.
to the store. There's a pho. I've got it in. It's wrapped up in the bag.
I don't eat after like, I don't know, early.
Yeah.
Late, I eat a late lunch, like 2 or 3, and then I'm like, good.
It's good practice. They say eat late, gain weight. So I always try and eat dinner before 7 if I can.
Right.
Tonight it's not happening, but sometimes I have to make arrangements. So Terry, while you're cooking, I think that multitasking is something, that you're very good at. It's something, you have learned how to do in your life. And I think it's something that you can carry forward in that road home. One thing all the heroes learn on their journey, is how to embrace all the different lessons and kind of juggle them and also embrace them and embody them as they come back into their ordinary world. Because the neat thing about a hero's journey, and many of them are represented not as a straight timeline, but as a circle of life, right? That you start and you go through the journey and you circle back and come back home. And that what you bring back home enhances and has changed not only you, but it changes those you come in contact with. And I think, for you with the book, it's going to be really remarkable because your purpose for writing the book was not just to have gratification, and say, that's my name on that book. That's exciting, yes. But you have a purpose in writing your book, which is one of the reasons that the story reads so true, right? That everybody's excited about it and that it's getting published. And I think it's something, to keep in mind. A lot of writers get writer's block. And I think the reason they get writer's block is because they're not writing the story for the right reason. They're not really thinking about who their audience is and what they're trying to teach that audience. And I think, Monte wasn't here when we talked about that, but I think if you wouldn't mind, it's something that's really worth sharing. Again, you talked about it at the very beginning, when you told us about your book, but I think what you talked about last week about why you wrote the book and the lessons you hope to teach and what you hope to do in book 2, right? I think is a really powerful testament to your hero's journey.
Yeah, I've really seen you grow in from the first day we met till now, like you've done the things you said you were going to do, which means you're embodying this material.
Yeah.
And now you're continuing to expand. See, this is the law of life, is to grow and expand more and more and more and more and more. It just never ends.
Yeah, it's a continuation of all of the above, and I see things differently now. I do things differently now. I'll give you a little funny. Milan will understand this. I always tell people when they come to my house for childcare or whatever, my first priority is the children. My second priority is the children. My third priority is the children, and my 8th priority is dusting. So if you mind dust, this is not the place for you to come. This is a house of fun. But when my parents got here yesterday, Devin walked in and sat down on the couch and she goes, "What are you doing?" And I go, "I'm dusting." She goes, "Oh dear God, thank you, I'm sitting down. If you had said that when I was standing, I probably would have fallen." So a lot of new things are coming out of this growth. Things are to the point where, I don't like that anymore. And Milan and I had a long conversation last night, and he was saying, I'm gonna mess up his quote, but if you're in a discomfort zone, if things are feeling uncomfortable, that's a time to change or to move on. Or what'd you say, Milan?
That discomfort is just a marker for change.
Discomfort is a marker for change. So the discomfort of that dust was a marker for change. So I went through my entire living room and everything's like gleaming and shining. And I'm like, that's what that feels like. Okay. There's no dishes in the sink. Everything's done. The Roomba has done her duty, and I'm kids didn't leave until 6. And by the time we got stuff done and I talked to Michael at work, stuff didn't go into the oven until 20 to 7. So it'll be ready for him to eat in a minute. And it's just, it's a one pot thing, you know, I'll just fix a green vegetable to go with it because it's got bacon bits and chives and all that other good stuff on it. So we're good to go. But
Piggybacking off of what you were saying, I think it's just you're so much more aware of your environment as a whole.
right,
And the environment of your mind is like they say, um, like, oh, you're being brainwashed. It's been said of like, different cults and churches and things like that over the
Brainwash me
years.
in this material.
But brainwash really, because like to really wash out like the negativity,
Yeah.
it is really like a personal, like little brainwash, car wash thing going on in there. And
right,
once you clear out some things, you realize like, oh, well, I really like this space now, and really want to curate your entire space. And one of my clients, we were talking about that too, that he started using better lotion. And he said, really, because in his mind, he was like, well, the version of me that we're creating has all these quality things. Why would I not have quality lotion as well? Like things that he normally didn't think about or weren't necessarily like on his to-do list are now on his to-do list. And I think it's the same thing with, it seems minimal and it seems, almost a joke, but like with dusting, you're just like, oh, well, I'm just going to do this. And I think it's
right.
because you're seeing your entire environment differently because you see you differently.
It's an
Yeah,
alignment, right?
I just had to change pages to read Jenna's message. But the other thing with that change is I am listening to myself more. And with that comes other stuff because I was putting some stuff back in the playroom and I looked at my plants that I have back there for the winter, and one was kind of droopy. And the old me would have said, I'll get to you later. But then the new me said, well, why later? You're in here, go get the water, put the plant food in it and come back and do it. And it's done. That's why I was late getting on, because I was watering my plants. And I came out thinking that it was going to be like 10 till 7, and it was like 7 o'clock. And I'm like, oh, wow, but I have a great reason. You guys know how I feel about my plants.
You're
I gotta
good.
turn this
Like, there's so much we can accomplish in one day because, the successful billionaire entrepreneurs have the exact same time that we have.
right.
It's what you do with the same time that makes difference. And when you are aligned, right, your thoughts, your feelings, first of all, connection to spirit, your higher self, your spiritual self, what you desire and your purpose, then your thoughts are aligned, your feelings are aligned, and you're going to it's automatic. Your action is just automatic. There's no needing to convince yourself. There's no needing to lift yourself up and like force yourself to do something you don't want to do, right?
Yeah.
But if you have a desire to do it and something's holding you back, usually you just have to go back and connect to your higher purpose, your higher self, and bring it. And then everything just flows, and you can get so much more done in your day and everything just flows. But
that was one of the things they were talking about today with the Hasmark, a meeting we were with two authors that have gone through them that are very successful, and one book is being turned into a movie. And there was other people that were speaking about that, and he was saying, he didn't necessarily say we all have the same amount of hours in the day, but he goes, there's so much you can do in your day once you put your mind to it, and once you say, this is what I want and this is a part of my journey and my path, and in order for me to get there, I have to do X, Y, and Z. And now X, Y, and Z doesn't seem out of reach because it's there. I am feeling it. I am reaping the benefits, not just of the book on its way to being published and launched, but just mental change. Seeing things differently, observing things differently, taking things in differently, because stuff that would have just like ticked me off today or ticked me off before, I've just said, like not now, because when we were talking on Monday about family, my phone rang and I just looked at the caller ID and I said, not now, not now, not now. And I haven't made the return call back, and I'm hoping that they'll get I am not the dump person. You have to try to figure this out on your own.
Yeah, that's so critical. And I think, what I just put in there, those are two quotes from analysis of the hero's journey. And I put the road back because that's what we were talking about today. But seizing the sword is really that moment of clarity for the hero. And I love this where it says, you just articulated it, when she sees through the deception, after having learned all these lessons, right? You kind of have this epiphany, this moment of recognition, and you accept your reward and start that road back with this new purpose.
Right. One of the things that I
Mundane
heard
goes away.
today
Yeah.
when I was going through my devotionals was, and this pastor said, everybody is not suitable for you, and you might might get along on a journey of sorrow, because that person is going through some of the same things that you're going through. But the difference is you go through them and you move on and you move further and you start to climb up and into a better situation. And then they can't tolerate that. So they think you're being different or you're being snooty. It's just that it was your turn to climb and grow and not theirs. And they don't understand that. And, I think I've said all I can say with that family situation. And it's up to them to listen and change and grow, because they were becoming my distraction from my peace, and I can't allow that.
Well, and you're vibrating at a higher level. And I put there, the mundane is no longer your jam. Their day-to-day minutia and complaints is no longer your jam. It sounds like a Lord Milan quote, but it's a
I love that.
Jenna. It's a Jenna inspired
You're
by
right.
Milan
It
quote.
isn't. I looked at it and, I was like, I don't have time for that now. And one of the kids said, well, who is it? And I said, it's my niece. And she was like, well, you don't want to talk to your niece? I said, no, because my niece doesn't listen.
Mm-hmm.
I've told her many times. It's the same story.
It's like rinse and repeat. No. I've washed that shirt before, and we go on from there. But my journey, and I just feel good about it. I've gone back over and I reread the card that Monte had on Monday that I picked, and I was discussing the time and money with Milan, and then I was like, the Holy Spirit was like, didn't we just talk to you about time and money? Don't give that any thought. Go on and move on. Don't worry about the how or the when. And if it happens, it happens, and it was supposed to happen. And if it doesn't, learn from it and move on to the next step. Don't dwell on it. And you know what? The mundane ain't my jam, like Jenna said, and I've just moved on to other stuff, and I just buttered my toast with something different.
I love that. It's the spice in your life. But also, like, you got to protect your energy at all costs. At all costs.
Yeah. Access to you is a privilege, remember?
Yeah, and I had to remember that, because my time is just as important. And it's not like I'm teaching a child. With an adult, no. What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Well, you know what? I taught that class. You failed it. You took it again. You failed it. Get another professor, because I have a student that wants to learn and grow to fill that spot. But I'm excited. The information that I got today from some of the other authors and from Judy and Mary Kate was just amazing, as far as not just the book journey, but the life journey, and to and it all fell back with the self-love. Do what you're passionate about, and take the time for yourself. And one of the things that Sir Monte said the other day was to start recording things. If I'm not writing them down, record them at the time so that I don't forget. And it's helped. I've got a journal on the dining room table. I've got pen and paper on my table, usually beside my chair in the living room. And if I move to the other chair, depending on what the kids and I are doing, it's all right there, so that I can keep in touch.
You can also use your phone.
Yeah, and that's what he said, to record it on my phone, to keep in touch with
yourself
where I'm going. Yeah. That's a good one. I hadn't thought about that one, but that's a good one. And it's helping. It's propelling me forward, and I am eager. Yes. Running out. I can't even get it into words about where I'm going. It's just, now my new thing is hashtag tasers of joy. That's my new hashtag right now. So yes. I look forward to putting something on the gram and then using that, because that's how the days have been. I can be doing one thing with the kids, and then something will cross my mind. It could be a storyline or something to add into the next book. How my garden grows. And it's just, hey, write it out, talk it out, text it out, speak it out. And I never miss a beat with the kids. So, you know,
Well, and I think even too, like your tasers of joy thing is so wonderful. But beyond that, you now have the capacity not just to feel that joy, but to channel that joy back.
Yeah,
know,
and that was
give
one
it
of the
back.
things that I put in when we were talking last week when you weren't here about my I always forget the word affirmations or confirmations or whatever. But that was one of the things that I put down. Like, I am in charge of my godly path and journey. You know, I'm listening and focusing more. You know, I had to do what I told the kids. God gave us 2 of these and 1 of these. So I'm listening more to what he desires me to do. Honey, I had to FedEx my key somewhere because just locking it, I couldn't leave it in the house. But I'm doing that in my inner self, and my God is talking more, and it's just great. You know, I
I think
am on my hero's journey.
one of the amazing reasons why you're receiving more, I think, is because you are choosing to chronicle. You know, you're writing down your good ideas, you're expressing your good ideas, and that's really what they're there for, so that they can be at least chronicled, you know, on paper or on recording, so that you can move on, so that you can start bringing in more things, and you can bring in more ideas, and you can bring in more peace, and you have more to give because you're not trying to hold on to all these things. Oh, I don't know when I'm going to use these things. Oh no, I forgot that one thing, and what was that one thing, you know? And we don't realize that is occupying so much energy and so much space in our mind that when you put them down, then you're free to do other things.
Yes, I also write down my tasers of joy, my aha moments, because I don't know about you, but me, I'm constantly listening to or hearing something positive. Like, I do audibles. Today I was listening to the hidden messages in water. And there was so much, just chapter 2, I wrote a whole page of stuff while I was working, and whatever, it's something that's so good, I just go make a post of it. Number 1, to reinforce it so I don't forget it because it's just so good. And then also to share it, right? To channel that so it doesn't stay in me. Because I'll probably forget about it. So I put it into words, I type it up or speak it out, record it, take a screenshot. I do everything to try to retain as much goodness as I can to give back, and also for my own personal growth development, and maintaining and increasing my vibration, like to just continue to rise.
Right.
So write your tasers of joy. So then you can go back and relive it as well. When you reread it, you'll be like, oh yeah, that's where I got that from.
And it comes in so many ways. You know, part of today when I had my HasMark meeting, Graham was saying to put the numbers on the pictures, on the illustrations that Milan had drew. And Milan had sent them to me, and I don't know if I was busy or what, but I looked at the first 2 and I thought that was all there was. So this morning, I don't know if I texted him or called him, and I said, you know what, I need to number these pages. Can you send me the rest? And that inner voice was like, you already have what you need. Go back into that file and open it up. And I opened it up, and there were all 8 pages. And I was like, I hadn't even seen these. So I got them all written out, and Graham had said, you know, I need that by the 30th. And the no longer trying to procrastinate and put stuff off while the kids were down for their nap, I was going through and numbering my pages and writing them down and writing notes on the back of it. And then I typed it all up, and Michael got up and he was like, hi, how are you? And I was like, I'm good. And I kept on going, and he was like, that good of a day? And I go, no, busy. You know, and I couldn't sit there and worry about whether or not he had his big boy pants on. And I was like, I caught myself and I said, I need to get something off to Graham now while it's on my mind. He goes, oh, okay. And he was all good and went on about his business. And I sent it to Graham before the 2 o'clock Q&A. And then after the 2 o'clock Q&A, he texted me back. He was like, well, thanks for getting that to me today. I'm not waiting till the AM of the 30th. I did it today.
That's right.
And then I have that time, and then I could finish writing the stuff in my journals and yeah.
Yeah, nice job. When you're inspired, do it right then and there, because the opportunity will pass you by and you may never do it. So
Right.
do it while you're inspired. So good job. Continue to do that.
Yeah, one of my superhero things, Jenna, was I am abundantly and financially blessed to bless others.
Yeah.
Because that's what a superhero does, is they take care of other people. You roll it over. And, at the first I didn't realize that. And then as I was looking at it again, I'm like, oh, no. You need to add to that. So I did.
Yes. And that's like when you're in the flow of what you love, you make the world a better place. When you are working from your heart, doing the things that you love, not only are you like in flow of divinity, divine energy, because you're now channeling a divine spirit in what you're writing and what you're doing. You raise everyone's vibrations up, and then you can put that into your book, bring that to your meetings. Sometimes you raise our vibration, and just in this group, like collectively, we raise each other. But normally with clients, we have to work to raise their vibration. Like you already come in with your high vibe, and it's like we fly higher.
Yeah. It's so awesome.
I'm a mastermind.
You are the wind beneath my wings.
You are.
And your name is Bird, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, and
Bird
I got a little butterfly going on. And see, the other thing and this is funny, it might not mean anything to you, but part of that dusting and cleaning up, I found two things that I've been looking for a while. My butterfly pen, which I usually wear a lot, and a little heavier comb for the hair, when it gets a little thick. And it's like, there you are. And we have this incense burner, and we've been looking for those incense since November.
Wow.
But my table is round, so they were in the middle, and stuff was blocking it. You talk about aha moment or a taser of joy for an incense and a comb and a butterfly.
Those are your signs.
If somebody had walked in the door and said, here's your $1 million rebate check, I was like, okay, thank you. I'm depositing this one and I'm making room for the next one.
It's the celebration of awareness is what it is. You're just becoming so aware, you're discovering everything, and it's really nice to hear.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because like when we talked about like the hero's journey in the Isle of the Sun, right, where Odysseus could have stayed, right? He had all of the goddesses and the grapes and the wine, and he could have stayed there, but it wasn't reality. It wasn't, he didn't have those real moments. He actually became numb in that like self-gratification, and that hedonistic environment. And then he knew he had to get back on the journey, and he only found true joy in getting back on the journey and finding the purpose. And so I think that little moments, tasers of joy are revealed, when you're on the right path. There's little confirmations, and sometimes they're really personal, like your 3 items, those are really personal, but they're affirmations. Yeah, that your eyes are open, that you're looking in the right place, that you're finding what you need, and you're on that right path.
The important thing in life is to have a very clear vision on where you're going, like crystal clear vision. And then you set your intention, right? That's your intention. This is where I want to go. You put your heart in it, put your love in it. And like magic, we know it's not magic, but like magic, because we don't understand it, God delivers to us. Higher source spirit just like, here you go. God always says yes to everything we want. But how we communicate our wants to universe, God, is through our feelings, our thoughts, and our feelings. The most predominant thought with the most impactful feeling is what God delivers to us, right? Because there's so much we feel and think all day long, but the thoughts that are most predominant with the strongest feeling is what God gives us. So when we pray, we should pray with gratitude, thanking him because he already said yes. So what is left? It's just to say thank you and to be grateful. And that brings it that much faster to us, and God reacts to it's like, ah, yes, my child, of course, here's more of it. Like here's more and more and more and more. Like the more grateful we are.
For me, I've had a better understanding about my cup runneth over because it's continual. And I didn't read it like that before. I didn't understand it like that before. You know, it's like surely goodness and mercy shall follow me, but that same goodness and mercy is leading me. You know, that whole verse, the 23rd Psalms is understood differently. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. You know,
and it's not wasted. That cup is,
accept that. Say it again,
Jenna. I was going to say that cup is overflowing, and quenching the thirst of others. I think that's the thing too. It is overflowing, but you're able then to share it. When Jesus turned the water into wine,
it's overflowing.
Yeah. That's a really neat image, Terry. Yeah.
And I am thoroughly enjoying. If these are the tastes of joy from He makes me to lie down in green pastures, I can't imagine the full pasture. I'm just like in a corner of it right now. But once I get in the middle of that and invite others in, if they accept, okay. If not, go ahead, munch a little bit of the green grass and then go on about your business. But I'm taking this entire pasture, and that I just see it. I just see it differently. I feel it differently. I had somebody to tell me the ask in my name didn't mean ask with a question mark. It meant ask as in I'm receiving this. And
go ahead, Milana. I just thought of like 5 stories in the Bible that reinforce everything you just said, but I'll let
it's all about perspective and really understanding the words. And I think, just like with the hero's journey, like you come back looking at things a lot differently. You come back with a new perspective of everything, and you start to question what was. And one of the things that, churches, people that grow up in the church or any religion, you tend to not question what you're given. But as soon as you go back and look at the etymology of the word ask, like in Hebrew, it means to claim. So you're not asking with a question, you're claiming with a period. And then it's easier to be thankful. Then it's easier to instill that gratitude. Then it's easier to have that those thoughts and those feelings be combined in such a good way. Because you're saying that, oh, I'm claiming this thing. Oh, I get to claim these things, that the ideas that I've been given as mine. And then you can let go of the when and the how, because you just know it's yours. Just like a child, when you say, hey, we're going to go to McDonald's later today. They don't care how they get there. They're not worried about the gas prices. All they're thinking is, you said I'm going, so I'm going to go. Yay. Hooray.
Yeah. And hopefully
like in this day and time, if they say they want eggs for breakfast, you can't say we had eggs yesterday and they're $8 a dozen. Get the egg, expect more. Use the egg.
Somebody said expect more. Yeah, I heard they couldn't find eggs at the grocery store, and they went to like several grocery stores. That's so crazy to me. Like, wow,
And that's so crazy because we live in a land of abundance. Our world is abundant.
It took 3 days. It took 3 days for us to get a dozen of eggs.
Wow. And I could just go downstairs and grab a dozen anytime I want. And so that I'm grateful for that.
I'm trying to warm my chickens up.
So thankfully, Mom, you have a friend with chickens.
I have chickens, Monte.
Jeremy's prices probably have gone up.
So this is the thing, right? It's like I'll say 2 quick stories, right? There's a story, I know it in Spanish, so it's going to take me a little bit to translate.
I'll translate.
Bueno, pues están las 12 doncellas donde estaban. Jesús le dijo, no se queden dormidas, y se quedaron dormidas y se fue el rey. No, okay.
I'm trying to think of the story.
Okay. All right. So there's a story where Jesus was saying about don't fall asleep, because if you fall asleep, Jesus may come back and you'll be left behind. Right. So he says, stay awake with your lantern, waiting for the return of your Savior. Right. What that means to me in this world today is that you can't fall asleep. Don't fall asleep don't become unconscious, right? Don't live life unconsciously. Be aware of your thoughts, your feelings, what you're doing, and if what you're doing is getting you closer to where you want to go, right? And to be alert when those little, flies try to come in and try to mess up your dinner or your plate, what you're cooking, right? And just be vigilant of those intrusive thoughts that try to get in there and to change your energy and your vibes, right? So being awake. And the second story is there was a prophet who was, helping people in the community, and there was this widow who was basically starving. Her and her child were starving. And the prophet said, just do what I say. Go get all these, whatever container you can find, empty bottles, empty cartons, whatever, just bring them in. And in faith, I will help provide for you, right? So she went and gathered all the containers she could, and she brought them. And the prophet he just called upon the name of the Lord, and these vessels started filling up, overflowing with oil. So then the more containers she brought, there was enough oil for her to sell and sustain herself and her child. And it never stopped flowing as long as she was willing to receive it, as long as she had the container, right? So we are the container. We have to maintain our hearts open to receive. And this is a lesson that I've learned a lot lately, is just to be open to receive. I already asked, and I just have to receive what I want. And you're on mute, so. You're still on mute.
I muted myself because I was trying to yell at Dylan to come get something out of the oven. Otherwise, the dinner is going to be burnt. So that's the beep that you hear, but keep talking.
Yeah, those are the two stories I wanted to share about the overflow of abundance, that it's there for the taking, and we just have to show up willing to receive. We just have to bring our container, which is our vessel, our body, our mind, our spirit, to receive all that we want. But we have to be clear about what we want. We can't be wishy-washy. Well, maybe I want it, maybe I don't. It's a little fuzzy,
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
not
specificity is amazing. And when I talk to people about, being specific with their goals and really what they want, I always say things like, how many kinds of bugs are there? Like, obviously, God likes specifics. There's a lot of different kinds of bugs. There's a lot of different kinds of grass. There's a lot of different kinds of everything. So it's like, which one is the one that resonates with you? What's the amount that resonates with you? What's the task that, you'd really love to complete? And I'm so glad that you chose your task for yourself and your time, because like you said, if this is what it feels like now, I mean, by June, I mean, come on.
Yeah, you can it's like God says, what do you want? God says, ask and you shall receive. Like, it's right there. We just have to accept it in faith and just say, it's mine, it's done, and go relax and go chillax. And if Bob always told us, be very clear on what you want. Write down the number, whether it's number of money do you want, the experiences that you want, the clients that you want, how many books do you want to sell, all of it, right? Be very clear and ask in gratitude. Like, just be grateful that it's already done.
Yeah, and I keep thinking with that.
Thankful that I'm a best-selling #1 author in children's literature, and it will be one of many. I'm expecting the Caldecott.
Yeah, I keep thinking, too, like the road back is you at those book talks and book signings, and I just see all of those little kids mobbing you, and you being on the media, and
and things that I had saw in a distance, or had done it in the past, but hadn't brought it into focus as a goal for now. But when I was talking to Hasmark and talking to Kelly, and Kelly was saying, can you explain how you came up with each part of the book? And I went page by page and explained it to her. She said, okay, now how are you with public speaking? Because we need to get you on tour.
Woohoo!
I
I
was
knew
like,
that, yeah.
okay,
All right,
if you
you got-
must, if I must,
Well,
So I was like,
this is where your self-image script comes into play.
right. So
You can come
My-
get your headshots with Tommy.
I
Monte's
know I have to
husband,
call
right?
Tammy
Yeah.
and get that done and
Yeah.
start stitch stitching myself and get me some clothes coming in here. Because I work in leggings and sweatshirts and t-shirts and
Yeah.
thermals with my kids.
Well, that
So-
lady that I mentioned, Diane, at the very, very beginning when we met, I'll get you her name because
Right.
she's like amazing fashion. She'll dress you and all the best
Yeah,
stuff.
she's in Roanoke, so I might have to take a
Right.
business trip.
Yeah, she's amazing. And she can do a book signing for you too, because she works with all the youth of Roanoke. She's kind of like, you know, a
Make a
town
list.
hero.
Make a list
Yeah.
of where you want to do your bookcase, book show, book tour, and just stay to it and be grateful for it. Like it's so easy, but it's so difficult for human beings to just have 100% pure faith that we can have everything we want and
Yeah.
just be grateful for it, like it's already done. That's
Not
like
anymore, child, not anymore. I am in it. I am on it. Monte, do you have your cards not to turn anybody off?
Actually, this works for us. We don't mind.
Yay. I know, I'm
how
gonna
many
listen to the
cards are in
card as
that
I
deck?
pack up my stuff and get out of this building before they turn on the alarm.
Can you turn the deck this way and count or this way and count?
That one
This
from
one?
that side. And 7 is the number of completion. I want 7.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is what it looks. Oh, Monte, good.
Put it in
Right.
front
Go
of
back a little bit. There you
There
go.
we go.
Okay, I see it, but I can't read it.
It reads, I can give my attention to the positive aspects. I can give my attention to the positive aspects. Excuse me. Things are coming into your experience in response to your vibration.
I've had that card.
Your vibration is offered because of the thoughts you are thinking. And you can tell by the way you feel what kinds of thoughts you were thinking, Terry. Find good feeling thoughts, and good feeling manifestations must follow. Make a decision to look for the best feeling aspects of whatever you must give your attention to, and otherwise look only for good feeling things to give your attention to, and your life will become one of increasingly good feeling aspects.
I've had that card before. Now, how did I get it again?
Source only asks us to repeat things that we haven't learned the complete lesson for.
Or that we just want more of.
Amen and amen. And
it's
A1
just telling you, look,
Right, things
look,
that
it's
that
no
you're
coincidence.
now seeing differently, right? You're able to
Amen.
fully embrace. Yeah.
I pulled the same cards, exactly the same card. I shuffled I have them right here and I'll show them to you. I did my cards twice and like after a period of time, I got the same cards because I hadn't surpassed that yet. Like I was still in that.
Get out of Dodge.
I'm
I have
telling
to go back in my notes and find it, but Monte, do you mind just sending it to me again?
I sent it to you, dear.
Okay, yep, there it
It's
goes.
already done.
Oh, thank you, Lord.
It is
Beyond,
done. It is done.
beyond grateful.
Well, listen,
Because-
you guys. Please say that, Terry. Please say what you're saying.
I am beyond grateful because one of the things like you and Mariposa just said, I had not reached all of what I am supposed to reach with that lesson. So he's just reminding me of guarding my thoughts, guarding my heart,
Nice.
to continue on the path that he wants me to be on.
Mhm.
And channeling that positive energy.
we are a vessel of spirit.
Ciao.
Terry, go feed your family.
Yeah.
and relax and
Okay.
I
see,
gotta stop buzzing. Now I feel like a bumblebee,
Well-
but I thank you all.
continue to see in your mind this newness. Continue to become more aware and focused. And thanks.
Dying to
Thank
the old
you.
self is
Bye.
is an everyday process. Dying to our
To
old
the own self be true. There you go.
self.
Friends.
Joy, joy, joy.
All right.
Beautiful.
You guys have a good week.
Bye, everyone.
Monday. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.